Miss Jessica.
Hi guys, I'm Jess, and this is David, and we are reviewing
The Lost Boys, which is a vampire movie that is not Twilight, and probably better.
It's one of my favorites. I'm a child of the 80s, and I love 80s movies, so this is a good one.
It's basically the Batman Forever of vampire movies. And I say that mostly because Joel Schumacher is the director, who also directed Batman Forever.
So that's the only reason why you say
And
that?
because it's got so much style and a lot of cheesiness, and a lot of like gung-ho, let's take matters into our own hands action.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to talk? Let's start with the intro.
Okay, of the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens?
There's a lot of deaths in Santa Carla or Santa Clara.
Santa Clara. Where do we think this was shot? Santa Barbara?
I think it was
Santa Monica?
I think it was
Santa
Cruz.
Cruz.
So we're on the boardwalk. There's a lot of deaths. Everyone's dressed so 80s. It looks like thrift stores now, basically. Everyone's wearing like Saved by the Bell kind of shirts, mullets. Everyone's just grungy, and they're listening to like, I don't know, Cyndi Lauper or something.
Saved by the Bell was the preppy version of these people. So you go into the town, and there's this montage showing you all the different walks of life in Santa Clara?
It's Clara.
Whatever. And the town looks awful. Like, honestly, the most awful group of people. There's kids eating out of trash cans. It just looks like there's a bunch of teenagers running wild, which is weird because all the missing people are teenagers, so why wouldn't there just be a bunch of adults running around? But it's pretty bad. So the people are wearing earrings, they have long hair, a look you should try.
Yeah, and then it also reminds me of The Karate Kid because it opens up with like a car ride. Hey, we're coming to California, and I'm a divorced mom. We're starting over. And this seems to be like a regular thing in 80s movies.
I mean, it was the beginning of divorce.
Just like Die Hard is also an 80s movie about divorce. Just gonna throw that one out. Okay, moving on. The best part of this movie is the saxophone player.
Yes.
If we've all seen the SNL sketch with John Hamm, I don't think we can show that, but you've probably seen it. And if not, just look it up. It's pretty funny. And it's a reference 20 years later to this moment. It's like one scene of like a greased up, muscly saxophone player. It really has nothing to do with the movie, but it's so funny because it's like so out of place.
He's like Fabio-esque, but really tight clothing.
And he's wearing a leather codpiece.
He kills it on the saxophone, though. I actually stopped the movie to text David, who was doing this review with me, to be like, what is happening? I forgot about this part, because it was amazing. And I hope we insert a clip or an image or something so you guys can check it out. But yeah, definitely a highlight.
Yes, one of my favorite parts of the movie is the music, the soundtrack. It's very 80s. Everything is just, the soundtrack's great. You should definitely look it up.
It's kind of the same song over and over.
It is, it really is.
one anthem for this movie.
Now, the main child actor in the movie is Corey Haim. There's also Corey Feldman, who are called the Coreys throughout the time. One of them is dead now from drug overdose.
Oh, thanks, David. Thanks for that.
Most child stars took their money on drugs, kids, and then did a lot of drugs.
Well, I like the main guy,
Jason Patric, who's also in Narc and something else.
Yeah, well, he reminds me of another 80s movie star from the movie Girls Just Want to Have Fun with Sarah Jessica Parker. The lead guys in these movies look identical in the 80s, so we need to show you that image as well, because it's uncanny. And since I love the 80s, I guess like short, athletic, brunette men were a thing back then. Not like they aren't a thing now, but they were popular. So that's who I thought it was originally.
I thought it was Rob Lowe. It looks kind of like Rob Lowe.
I think everyone's Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he initially falls in love with this girl, just
walking
walking by.
Meaning the older brother.
Yeah, just walking by, he's like, I'm in love with her. And then follows her and meets these vampires, who's the leader?
Keither's 24 Sutherland. But we don't know they're vampires. We just think they're punk rock guys.
Yeah.
And they do all these dares, and they like find out they can fly.
They're just jerks to begin with.
As most vampire movies seem to always have their own rules, like Twilight, they're crystal vampires, and garlic doesn't matter. Just like in this movie, garlic doesn't matter, but wooden stakes.
Water.
Yeah, wooden stakes and holy water matter, and like somehow they can fly, and they don't show the flying really. They just do the like camera. It goes up really high.
Which I like. That's kind of cool.
I don't know if it was like what the aesthetic was for that, to like, because maybe they couldn't afford wires or something, but.
But yeah, it looks like a helicopter shot, which is kind of fun because then you never see them fly ever. which is awesome. And
in this movie, you can be a half vampire. Now, I don't think I've ever seen that before. And then apparently the rule is that if you...
like the transition period.
Yeah, if you kill the head vampire, though, half vampires go back to normal. I don't even know what other movies do this.
But what would happen to the already vampires? Would they die?
Another thing I didn't figure out. They didn't, the movie.
And we never really see him die to transition into half vampire. He just like gets drunk off of blood, goes and jumps off a bridge into some fog.
Well, at the end of the movie, some vampires are exploding. There is a quote like all vampires die differently, I think is the quote.
Yeah. So they explode, their limbs pop off, which is really interesting. That one was cool. They don't burn. Did somebody burn?
They burn from holy water. Yeah. The holy water burns
them. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, actually.
So spoilers alert. Kiefer Sutherland is stabbed, but he's not stabbed by a wooden stake. It's antlers. I remember thinking, is that some sort of loophole? And I found out later on IMDb it was. They wanted a sequel.
Oh, really?
So that way he's not really dead. And then they kill the head vampire, who's a twist of who it really is.
Yeah, it kind of has like a weird, jokey ending. Like the whole movie's not like funny, but not serious either.
I was confused on the tone of this movie. It transitions. Do you remember where it becomes Home Alone all of a sudden? Where they're like getting out the water guns. It's like water guns, well that's cheesy and childish, but then holy water, that's serious.
It's the Corys.
And it's this sort of mixture of like, there's like an explicit, well not explicit, there's a fleshy sex scene, if you will, with a lot of montage and like crossfades, but then there's also like kids reading comic books, and it's like comic book humor too, so it's a little confusing sometimes.
I mean, he has his shirt off in this so-called sex
They met a day before, and they're already just hooking up.
The timeline was confusing.
Yeah. The whole thing takes place in like
really
3 days.
Confusing. Apparently the mom gets a boyfriend like that. She also gets a job like that.
Well, it's with the same guy though. Like he wanted her.
That was another connection that was weird. So Corey decided that Max, mom's boyfriend, is the head vampire who he has to kill in order to make all the half vampires not vampires. So confusing. His connection to that though is like he comes into work late and he has a dog. I was like, what? Okay, that's also, how you jump to that conclusion?
Yeah, he accepts that his brother's a vampire instantly in that scene. He's like, oh, I don't see you in the mirror. You're a vampire, because it's just common these days. Yeah. It's like, oh, you got acne. Like, yeah, it's like common amongst teenagers to just become vampires.
He's like half showing in the mirror. But, yeah, that was really weird. And then the main vampire just wanted the mom. Like, that was
Kiefer Sutherland.
The end goal. No.
Wait,
Max.
Oh, you mean the head? Okay.
Yeah, who was the dad?
All right, spoilers, the head vampire is the boyfriend.
Yeah. What is that movie with the kid, Richie Rich? The dad from Richie Rich.
It was the dad, that's right.
Yep, that's the head vampire. So, he is the one who really wants the mom because he wants a female mother figure for his family.
Which is pretty righteous. You want a family. It's the American dream.
It made sense at the time.
It's the vampire dream. You just want like a nice Brady Bunch vampire family.
Yeah, it didn't happen. But anyway, so, I mean, we're saying some pretty not so great
Actually,
things
it makes sense because the title is supposed to be a reference to, Wendy and Peter Pan. And that whole, subplot is, we need a mother for the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Full circle.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Also, to wrap up, originally, the screenplay was pitched for a while as a Goonies-esque vampire film, which is kind of what it is.
There were some Corey moments where they get their camo gear on and get their little guns and start running to some deep hole on the side of, I don't know, they were in the dirt, crawling around in rocks. It was very similar. Maybe they were the same shots.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, the original screenplay was that the vampires were 6th graders, and they were 8-year-old Boy Scouts who were going to fight the vampires. But then Joel Schumacher came in, and this is all from IMDb, Joel Schumacher came in and said, no, let's make it sexy. Let's make them teenagers.
I like the direction he went.
Yeah.
It was good fun. So anyways, check out The Lost Boys. It's awesome.
It's the great flashback. If you like Saved by the Bell fashion. Okay, but the clothing reminded me of it. If you like vampires, you like fun Goonies-esque Home Alone vampire things.
Super 80s music, 80s hair.
80s California,
clothing.
if you like California.
Yeah, 80s plot gaps. I don't know. Whatever.
Like the Karate Kid.
Awesome. And, I mean, it's not really horror. I wasn't
Halloween.
Scared, but it's super Halloween. And it's another vamp flick, and those are great for Halloween. So, awesome.
Yeah.
That's all we got. I'm Jess.
And there will be more reviews every day.
And what's your name?
And I'm David.
Bye.